Hi guys, thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to introduce Tracy, who's going to tell you guys all about networking success with first a little background on her. So she's a GSBS alum, right? Got her degree from genetics.
And statistics.
And statistics. So it's good because I don't know anything about statistics.
That's okay.
We can ask some nice statistics questions. So she's a GSBS alum. She's been involved in the National Postdoctoral Association for many years. Was the director here at GSBS for postdoctoral affairs for quite a while, and then now she's at Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa.
Yes.
Doing some great work there.
Thank you.
And kind enough to come back. Tell us all about your experience.
Always.
Yeah, we're excited. So here's Tracy.
Okay, so let me make sure. Am I on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me in the back? Oh, thank you. So I did get my degree here. I have very fond memories of being a grad student, and a lot of the things that I have used in my role as program manager over at MD Anderson and then now at Moffitt really had roots in a grad school and my postdoc. And it's all the things I learned, but all the things I didn't learn and wish I'd learned. And really that's what I try to give back to my postdocs in both places. So a few other little tidbits that he didn't say, and only because it's going to become relevant later. After my grad school, I was a postdoc. I was R25 funded in both cases. I moved then into a staff position with health disparities research, and then I moved out to Exogen Diagnostics, which was a small diagnostics company, and was their principal statistical geneticist. After that, I was recruited back to MD Anderson to start a program in postdoc affairs, or really extend what Martha Skinder was doing. And then very recently, a year ago actually, July 5th, because it's very memorable, I got a phone call from Moffitt saying we would like to talk to you about coming and doing something here. So that's the long story of left MD Anderson in January, started over there, and it all is a little bit relevant because part of my story really threads through all of these things and my experiences, and I share them, and the experiences of everybody who's talked to me get shared anonymously. So, because you came to talk, or because you came to a talk about networking, a year ago I was invited to the American Heart Association to give a presentation on networking. And I found this right before I was about to give the presentation, and I just started cracking up. This is the funniest thing I'd seen since I was so hip deep in all the ways to successfully network. And I put this up because I wanted everybody to laugh. But in the end, I realized right before I walked on to the stage at AHA, this is actually really good stuff. If you are an introvert and you are at the end of your ability to converse with anyone cognitively and intelligently, here's 5 ways that you can get out of it. Okay? So you can pretend to be busy. You can go to the vendor tables that aren't populated with people. You can go look out the window. You can go to the bathroom. You can go to the buffet, because if you're at the buffet, the only 2 people to talk to are really the person in front of you and the person behind you. And that's it. If you stick something in your mouth, you don't have to talk to them. Or it would be rude to talk to them if you did. If you're in that situation, though, it's okay to take a break. And I think that's one of the most important things that I keep hearing back. And there's a lot of permissions that I'll give you throughout this talk that I think are important, that you realize and intuitively you know these things, but you may not have realized that, hey, I can actually do that thing and it's okay. So because I'm really big on audience participation, and I really want to hear what you have to think about this particular topic. Who's here because they love to meet new people? A few. Okay, you're my extroverts. Fabulous. I'm surprised there's no extroverts in the back. You want to learn how to network. Or you may think that networking is a polite term for self-promotion, right? I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to do this as like putting myself out there and bragging, right? I'll talk about that. How many of you are ready to take the next step on your career path? So you're late stage grad students. Okay, how many of you are early grad students and you're here, oh my gosh, I love you, you're so brilliant. Fabulous. Okay, so this is my number one rule of networking. You will never know that the person you meet today may be the person who gives you your next job. They may be the person who's working for you. They may be the person who helps you get your next job because they say, oh my gosh, I heard about this thing, right? That's actually part of my story of how I wound up at Moffitt. One of my colleagues saw the opening and told my now boss, you should look at this person, she's amazing. I don't know where they got that from, but that's what they said. And that turned into a phone call to me, which turned into an hour-and-a-half phone call, which was supposed to be a 30-minute phone call. Hour and a half later, she said, I want to bring you out to Moffitt. And so I looked at my calendar, figured out when I could go, sent her a note. Didn't hear for a week and a half, and I thought, oh, well, that's the end of that, right? They don't want me. But I was wrong. She was out of town. And so when she got back in town, got it all organized, got me there. I had a day of interviews that was every 30 minutes with a new person. And thank God I'm an extrovert, because an introvert would have melted under that, right? But you actually only have to take it in bite-sized pieces. So while I think an introvert would melt under that, you actually wouldn't, because it's really only in that one-on-one space that it's comfortable. So why networking? And so I want to pull out my notes because I don't want to forget anything. Who thinks it's important to network or not? Who thinks yes? Who thinks no? What if you actually, yeah, what if you're really, really tired and you don't have the juice to really be on with that person? Is it worth ruining a potential relationship in that situation? The answer is no, and you're correct. You're correct. Okay? So who thinks they already have a network? Wow, some really not brave people. Okay, you actually all do have a network. If you look around the room, do you know at least one person in the room? Yes, you all know Sina. And now you all know me. Okay? You know some of your colleagues. Okay? If you don't know someone, I encourage you to pick one person on the way out, introduce yourself. That's not that hard, right? That's a low bar. One person, there's 50, 60 people in here. Okay? Think about that, because I'm not asking you to introduce yourself to everybody on the way out. I'm saying pick one. Okay. And all of your introverted tendencies of, oh my God, there's 50 people in the room. Oh, I only have to talk to one. One is okay, right? Okay. So a network is really just a supportive group of individuals, right? It's relationships. It's not anything more than that. You don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to talk to them all the time. But enough of a relationship that you know what they do, how they potentially can help you, how you can potentially help them. Really critical. Okay? So, creating basically a group of acquaintances and associates, keeping it alive with a touch occasionally. One of my favorites is happy birthday through LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn tells me, I don't even have to think about it. Oh, it's your birthday, happy birthday. And someone's like, she said happy birthday. She remembered. Well, I have tools to help me remember, right? We all use our tools, right? We use our calendars to remember our parents' birthdays, anniversaries, brothers and sisters' birthdays, anniversaries, right? LinkedIn's the same thing. So, okay, so last point here is that what is the best way to really be networking? Do you think it's face-to-face, online? Any other ways? Nobody wants to pipe in with a comment? I'll send Cena prizes if you guys, like I didn't bring enough prizes in my suitcase because only the early birds got the pens. If you got a pen, wave it so that the rest of them are all jealous. Okay. All right. It's up to you the way that you want to network. The way that is going to work for each of you is going to be a little bit different. And so I only want to make that point because here's you. And I really am going to make you shout out who, and so shouting out is anonymous, right? It's anonymous enough. Who do you think is in big categories? Okay, who else? Who else is in your network? Coworkers and colleagues, good. Okay, who else?
Lab mates.
Lab mates, okay. Former colleagues. So who did you know when you were in undergrad? Professional societies. Friends, family, social media, professors, mentors, that one was said already. And what about an alumni organization? When you've left your undergrad, is that still part of your network? Yes. What about people you meet at conferences? Vendors, that's a good one. They just had a vendor show downstairs in TMC. Did you guys know? No. I actually ran into a girl I knew from GE who was in grad school with me back in the day, which was fabulous because I got to invite her to come to Tampa when I do a career symposium there in the spring. Customers, oops. So I want to call your attention to this little mind map because later, this is homework. I'm not going to make you do it while you're here, but if you have a piece of paper and you start scratching, that's okay. This is a brainstorming session for you to think about all the people you know because sometimes you forget about these different categories, right? They're all important to you and your career as you move forward, whether you stay in academics or not. Like I said, the gal I ran into downstairs just today works at GE now, and I was able to invite her to come and talk about a non-traditional career that still has her tied in very strong ways to academics. Okay, so first tip, easy, smile, it's free. First of all, it takes very little energy. It actually takes less energy to smile at somebody than frown at somebody, right? And we've all heard this, we all know this. Okay, make eye contact with them. And I know I'm not doing a really good job in there because there's some of you that are hiding behind people, okay? But I'm working on it. So, handshake. So I'm going to come around the room and we're going to talk about handshakes. And I'm going to pick you first. This is a great handshake. Okay? Good handshake. Everybody's waiting for, oh my God, when do I get the bad handshake, right? Okay, no, that's a good handshake. Okay, so all of these people are now wondering what, okay, so I'm going to teach, there you go there, okay? It wasn't bad, it just made me better. Okay, okay, so right there. Okay, who's the strongest guy in the room? Sina. All right. I'm going to shake Sina's hand, and then when I do it properly, squeeze it hard, really hard. Okay, I'm waiting. Dude. Okay, the trick is, it doesn't hurt. The trick is, if you shake hands and you get, and I'm going to try and get back up to the front, but you want to get the soft part right there. If you get in there and you get a good firm handshake, very acceptable in the US, very approved, he can squeeze your hand all day long and it will not hurt. Now, if you get off of that just a little bit and he gets around your fingers, forget it. You're not going to be writing for a week. Okay, so now at the end, I do want to, here, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more. So what I want you to do is I want you to shake hands down the row so that everybody knows the perfect. Everybody knows what it feels like, okay? Easy thing. Yep, good. All right, Sina, you know how to do this, so you're going to, oh, my daughter wants me to shake her hand. No, you guys stay back here. Oh. That's so bad. Okay, go here, okay? Good job. Good job. Now, in some cultures, I already took you, didn't I? Okay, so everybody's shaking a hand. Okay, so I can see myself back here, so he's got me again. So again, it's really to hit that soft part to the soft part, right? Okay. Now, how many, and this is a cultural thing, how many have had this? Okay? The Americans will laugh. Those who come from a culture where that's the accepted way get a little concerned when I start talking about this. Okay? This made you feel uneasy. Yeah, a little bit. Okay? We're here in the US. Okay? The culture in the US is to have a firm handshake. Okay? I understand it's not the most comfortable thing, but culturally. But it's something that I will encourage you to adopt while you're here and while you're working in the US and even in Europe, because you will be perceived. Your first impression is your smile and your handshake, right? And your badge and a few other things. But really how you're dressed, all of those things matter. And that first impression, when people make that snap judgment about you, it takes 200 impressions past that to start to overcome whatever that impression was. Okay? So, where do you wear your badge? Because I don't have a badge on today. On a lanyard? Does anybody have a lanyard I can borrow? Thank you. Who thinks lanyard? Okay. Who thinks like up here? Yeah. So perfect. So I used to wear mine on the left side always. Now that's because when I shake a hand, I don't want it to get wrinkled up in my jacket or whatnot, right? It's always flat. It's here by my face. One of the things I did with Angela when I walked in and I introduced myself to her, I didn't actually use her name and I should have. But when I walk up and say, I'm going to cheat. Stephen, if I say, hi, Stephen, it's fantastic to meet you, all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, she knows my name, right? If you'd have had your badge up here and I could have just read you, right? Wow, like how do you know me, right? That's like all of the, and master networker, right? Like there's all those positive things, right? They're going, when it's down here and it gets flipped around, right? You lose that ability to help the person feel at ease with you. Thank you for loaning. Also, looking at somebody's belly button is not always, feels a little weird, right? If it's up here, everybody's cool. If it's all down, Okay, planning your first impression. So the last piece I want to talk about before I get kicked into the rest of this. When I went to the American Heart Association, I walked in to a ballroom of 300 people that I did not know. Because my master's was on hypertension, but that was back, and you can look it up because it's in the library, 98, okay? So it was a few years since I'd been in that world at all, okay? So at the point at which I've walked into a room of 300 people and felt the panic go, oh, I don't know anybody in this room. And then I realized I'm the one who's here talking about networking, so I probably shouldn't just hide on the sidelines, although that's valid, right? One way to ease yourself into a room, if you see someone sitting off to the side, go have a conversation about what that feels like. Hey, I saw you sitting off to the side. I actually need a minute. Do you mind if I sit with you? Start a conversation. There is connectedness in introvertedness. And it's not about being shy. It's about the way you prefer to spend your time and how you get energy. And most introverts will get energy from being in one-on-one or one-on-few interchanges and then go away and be by yourself for a while. So, which is all totally fine. Planning your first impression, really important. So if you know that senior bigwig, hotshot Nobel laureate is going to be at your conference and you really want to catch up with that person, do you go in your favorite band's ripped t-shirt and jeans? No, right? Go in and make a good impression, okay? So if layers actually lend themselves, there's lots of good research out there on how you make an impression, but layers, so if you've added a sweater to your shirt, all of a sudden you have better stature. Surprise, I know. Stand up straight, thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Walk in confidently. And if you need the 2-minute prep, please go watch the video by Amy Cuddy on TED. It is absolutely worth your time. You can watch it on the shuttles, right? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Who's watched it yet? Okay, well, I don't want to steal too much and give you the punchline, but she has a way that in 2 minutes you can raise, in a small way, your testosterone level and your confidence just by doing a power pose. Wonder Woman power pose, and you do it in the bathroom, right? Nobody has to see you do it. Or the victory pose, right? You make yourself feel bigger, and you will walk in more confident. 2 minutes. Change your underlying hormones. Okay, networking basics. We're going to stick with this theme for just a little bit, and a lot of this is on the handout, so I'm going to start to see if I can get one of my daughters to come and give handouts. Will you come give handouts? Thank you. This is my eight-year-old future grad student. Okay. So, be yourself, okay? That's the easiest thing. If you show up and you pretend to be somebody else, first of all, you have to remember who you were pretending to be the next time you meet that person. And good luck with that, okay? Because like I wouldn't be able to do it. Ask questions and then actively listen. So when you hear their response to you, pay attention to what they have to say. This is why it's so important to go to an event when you feel fresh, when you feel ready to talk to people. And if you don't want to talk to them, take one of the first 5, think about what's the easiest one, look around your room, survey your situation, and get out, okay? Business cards. So I passed out business cards to everyone else. Oh, and so if you're, Stephen, I'm going to pick on you. I know. If you're going to give me that business card as if it was yours, how do you think you should do that? And this is where the Japanese have a real leg up on us. She knows. Okay, so this way I have to turn it and see your information. She's correct. You present the information. Now you don't have to honorably do, right? But if I give it to you this way, all of a sudden you can see my name, my contact information, a little bit about me really quickly without having to turn it around, spin it. You have no effort when I do it that way. Okay, so now you all know how to do it properly. You can pretend with your neighbor because I gave you all cards. Okay? All right. Always be growing your network. One of my good colleagues got a job from talking to the person in front of him in line at the airport, waiting to get on the plane. You never know who you're going to be talking with, right? Now, it's easy to talk to that person because you're standing in line, especially at Southwest. You already have to talk to them because you have to figure out, I'm 27, or I'm A17, right? Where am I in the line, okay? It's easy to talk with them while you're waiting. You have to wait for a while. Thanks, kiddo. So, let's see. Intentionally separate yourself from your friends. You can go to networking events with your colleagues, with your friends. Ultimately, if you need to cycle back to them and away and back and away, that's fine. One of my favorite ways to do things, if you walk in with a group and you see someone that you know, but you know that your colleague doesn't know them, introduce that person right away, leave them to talk and go do your own thing. Hey, Melissa, it's fabulous to see you. I can't even believe you're here. This is Stephen. You guys are connected because you both work in this. I'm off, right? Now you've helped them network because you've given them a little bit of information about each other, and now you're free to go and chat with someone else, okay? Have a couple of icebreakers ready. And I gave you some in the handouts, right? Standing in line at the buffet, and you see something and you don't recognize it, and you turn to the person next to you, do you recognize this? Like, what is this? There's no sign, right? Do you know what we're having? Or if you're back of the line, what are we having for lunch today? I have no clue. Or maybe they're on the planning committee and they know, and they go, oh, it's salad and sandwiches and da-da-da, right? Now all of a sudden you have insider information. That's awesome, okay? It doesn't have to be profound. It can be about the weather. It can be about, what else? What else would make a good icebreaker? Sports team in the local city. Hey, we're in Cleveland. Are you going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Hey, we're in Houston. Are you going to the Astros game? Are you going to the museum? Exactly. Or in the spring, are you going to the rodeo? If you've never been, oh my gosh, you have to go, right? At least once. It should be on your bucket list. Okay. Networking, most of the time when we go to do this, is in the, oh my God, I need a job mind frame. 5 minutes?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So particularly internationals coming from different cultures, I would like to highlight in United States, be very careful making comments about someone's appearance. Oh, what a great shoes. Oh, you're so fit. or whatever else. In some cultures, other countries, it's a compliment, but here could be considered as a harassment. So be very careful that not be as one of your opening sentences. People do that routinely, but make sure that, like, if you don't know that person, don't do it. Be very careful.
Okay, I will say, if you see a woman wearing really good shoes, compliment her shoes. Like, I don't, like, I'm wearing my clogs today because I need to be comfortable, but, like, if I was wearing Pradas or Mahalos or whatever, like, you should, yeah, totally. You have, like, grown, right? It is something to be careful about, absolutely. That's why the weather, the food, the venue, hey, I can't get on the Wi-Fi. Or I got on the Wi-Fi so easy here, it was so fabulous. I can't believe that at this other conference, like, it was such a challenge, right? Everybody's had that. Everybody's had that. Okay, instead of asking for help, start the conversation focused on the other individual. And I say it's not all about you, because that person in a relationship needs to be able to have an interchange and get something out of it. Now, some, like me, love to mentor people. So if you contact me and you say, Tracy, I need help with, you've now hit all of my magic buttons, right? I want to help you. So that's a good thing, but starting the conversation and asking about, especially if you see someone who's working on the committee, right, for the conference that you're at, this is a great way, right? Can I help you with the cleanup, or can I help you set this room up? Oh, I see you're setting up for the next thing, and I'm here 10 minutes early. Can I help you do something? Right? You'll have a forever grateful person, and it's not that much effort. Okay. Facilitate conversation. I said that one already. When you walk in with your buddies and you pass them off to someone else, that's facilitating conversation. If someone else comes and joins your group, you're already in a group of maybe people you just met, and someone joins, invite them into your group. Right? As soon as there's a break, hey, are you interested in this topic? Right? What do you think? What do you think about this topic? Easiest thing, right? And then they'll have an intro and a way to connect into this group that you're in, because, you know, how many times have you been standing at the outside of a group and wished somebody invited you in or asked what you thought before you had time to really interject that? All the time. So it's really that old thing that our parents always said, you know, treat others like you want to be treated. Same thing, right? Okay. Follow up or forget about it. So how long after a conference or after you meet someone do you have to follow up with them? I heard 2 weeks. 2 days? 3 days? A week? Okay, so I have everything between 2 days and 2 weeks. So we're going to take a vote. 2 to 3 days? 1 to 2 weeks. The 2 to 3 days have it, okay? 48 hours. Now, I understand if you're the first day at a conference and you don't get back for 3 days, that's rough, right? You have a stack of business cards. If you don't do something with them within that first week, I'll give you the 7 days. If you don't do something within the 7 days to reconnect, LinkedIn is a great way, right? You might as well just stick it at the bottom of the drawer or stick it in the trash, because you won't have that same connection with them the next time you connect with them. Now, I like to save my cards, because even though I've connected with them in LinkedIn, on the back of those cards, I typically write how I met you, right? So if I met you at a particular seminar, that's useful information to me, because 6 months later, when I come across an article, I'm like, oh, somebody would love to see that. And I can figure out who it was, send them the article. Hey, I was thinking about our conversation about this thing, and I saw this article. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Easiest networking to keep yourself connected with someone, right? They may write you back and say, oh my gosh, I didn't see it. This is fabulous. Thank you. Right? Now they know that you're still connected with them and you're thinking about them. Doesn't take a lot. Show your value, and so you're especially to new contacts. That's a good way, right? Connect with your current network. Again, sending them an article from time to time. Technology is your friend. I talked about LinkedIn reminding me about birthdays. It also tells me Yeah.
I want to ask about the word reconnect with regularly. How regular?
How close do you want to be connected to that person?
Hey guys, for the future, if you have a question, raise your hand, we'll get you the mic.
Okay. So the question, sorry, so in case everybody can hear it, the question is, how regularly do you need to connect? And so my answer to that was, as regularly as you want that relationship to be effective, okay? So if they're just a colleague, and you're going to see them next year at the conference, maybe, hey, how you doing? And that's as much as you need right now, then that's okay, right? But if this is someone who said, I'm over at Cancer Center competitor, whatever, Memorial Sloan Kettering, right? And you know that they're connected with different faculty search committees and you want to be faculty at Memorial Sloan Kettering, then I would put some time into that relationship. Because they'll say, oh yeah, I remember you're looking for a job in research as a faculty member. So I just heard about this job and now I'm going to pass it on, right? Okay. So just as you keep people in your brain when you see an article on, let me think, the new stuff on leukemia and CAR-T, right? If you knew somebody was working in leukemia and you wanted to pass that article, oh my gosh, the FDA just approved this is so exciting, right? Pass that along to them, I'm sure they've seen it, but maybe they haven't, right? I didn't see the original announcement, I got it secondhand from a colleague. So again, my LinkedIn really takes care of me because I'm connected with a good enough group of individuals who passes that stuff to me, but seeing that then made me think, oh, I need to connect with so-and-so, right? That same thing will happen in the brains of everybody else that you're connected with. If they saw something that was related to you and you've kept up that relationship to the level that they think about you occasionally, they will connect with you and say, oh my gosh, there's this job and it's perfect for you, you should apply. And you may not have seen it yet. And you may not have been looking for it, and it may be absolutely the right time and the right opportunity, and until you saw it, you would never pay attention to it, right? Oh, and I need to remember, I'm going to say it now, I'm going to go back a couple slides. The handshake came from Mary Mitchell. I do like to give her credit for that. She's the one who started doing that. I don't know if she's been here recently or if she'll be here soon, but she talks a lot about etiquette and has a lot of great material. You should go to her website, which is the Mitchell Organization. So let me continue along. So one of the reasons why I wanted you to do that network map, right, is really to figure out where you have a gap in your current LinkedIn profile, for example. You may be only connected to current colleagues and you haven't connected to any former colleagues. That's a great time, right? And blame it on me. Tracy said we should reconnect with our old, connections, and I was thinking about you. And by the way, I thought about this, and here's something I was thinking about. Or I'm going to be back in Houston or back wherever school is, right? Do you want me to give a talk about my research while you're there? If you're already there, offer to give a talk, right? Great way to keep reconnected with your group. Okay, so I know I promised I would talk about this. Introverts and extroverts. So my extroverts are quite willing to say they're extroverts. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we're going to talk about this first. So if you tend to think before you speak, prefer smaller groups, carefully take risks, prefer to be alone when you're having to write or create, and if we move this talk from here to Onstead, you'd have been like, okay, wait a minute. You're probably more introverted than extroverted. If you like time to think, if you talk out loud to get to your solution, if you like being in big groups, if you get energy from other individuals, you like being surprised, so Christmas is fabulous, right? Or anytime somebody brings you a present, that's awesome, right? If you feel like you're good at multitasking or doing multiple things at the same time, although I will tell you there's a bit of a myth there, and be careful. You may be extroverted. So how many of you have ever done the Myers-Briggs type indicator? Some? Good. So then you know what your 4-letter designation is, and you've done a little bit of self-introspection. That's great. I encourage everyone to do that, and Sina's going to talk about something.
We are offering 3 tools, including Myers-Briggs, for GSPS students. If you want to know your personality type, feel free to make an appointment with me. Also, we're offering 2 other tools, defining your character strengths and your actual strengths. So Gallup's Strengths Finder, also VIA character strengths tool. So just contact me and make an appointment, please, anytime GSPS students want to get to know yourself better. Thank you.
So those are 3 fantastic tools, and actually that's the next pieces that I'm implementing over at Moffitt is those pieces, because understanding more about you will help you to understand everybody around you. And being in a class like that where you dissect what your letters mean and what that really means about you gives you insight in the opposite of you and around you. And sometimes when you run into someone and you've just, like, they rub you the wrong way, right? How about you're really organized and always on time, and they come in 5 minutes late to the seminar and their desk is a mess, right? And you're just like, ugh, I just don't understand that, right? Well, this is the why. They operate very fine in that situation, and they don't actually cognitate on the fact that being 5 minutes late disrupts people. That's just their way. So the analogy here is handedness. So if you tend to be introverted, and I'm going to say left hand, it does not mean, or let's use right hand. I'm right-handed, so it doesn't mean that I can't write with my left hand. It just means I'm not very good at it, okay? Whatever your mirror is, it doesn't mean you're not good at it. It just means it's going to be a little more challenging, okay? And again, you don't have to walk into the room of 300 people and talk to everybody, 1 or 3, okay? A few. And it can be strategically chosen people. You can know exactly who you want to talk to before you walk in the room. Have their picture like loaded on your phone. Not stalkerish, but that way when you walk in and you see a sea of faces and you're like, oh, I don't recognize anybody, you're like, cheat, look at your phone. Oh, there he is, and go, right? Or there she is, and go. Okay? All right. So, again, just to sum up this, introverts recharge by spending time alone. It's not about being shy. Okay? Extroverts gain energy from being in big crowds and being social. So, the truth is, though, we're all actually ambiverts. We're all in the middle. Nobody is really at either extreme. So most of us will have times when they are extroverted or introverted, as the case may be. Most people generally enjoy being around other people, but after a while, they're like, yeah, I'm done with the party. It's time to go home. It's 2 a.m. I'm done, right? We all like to occasionally take a Saturday and spend the entire day in our pajamas and read a book. That's okay. Or binge watch Pretty Little Liars, or whatever that looks like, right? Okay. So let me go ahead and skip ahead. Common icebreaker, and we kind of started talking about this before. What do you think? Weather, food, or job? Well, and there is no real right answer to this one, actually. So it's whatever is the most comfortable thing for you to start a conversation with, that's the right thing, okay? Again, what you say doesn't have to be profound. It doesn't have to be the solution to curing cancer. Although if you blurted that out, like, I don't know that anybody would actually recognize it for what it was, because it's really complicated. So you have to say something. You have to introduce yourself. You have to welcome new people to the group. Those are easy things to be able to do. So now we have a working 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think of 5 words, although we have plenty of time. So 5-word pitch to describe yourself, okay? And these are some that I found on the internet. But I like, a chiropractor who says, I've got your back. That's catchy, right? I will remember that, right? I would probably go to that guy just because he had a catchy tagline. This one's even better. Tech help, not tech hype. I would totally call that. If my computer is broken. I'm serious, right? Capturing today's memories for tomorrow. That just hits me in the mom spot, right? Okay. So mine is facilitate career growth for postdocs. If that's something that's interesting to you, if I come and say, I'm going to pick you. We can leave that. I'm Tracy Costello. I'm the Director of Postdoc Affairs at Moffitt Cancer Center, and I facilitate career growth for postdocs. You're either interested in that or you're not. And it took 15 seconds to say that, right? And if you're like, how do you do that? What does that mean? Right? That sounds really cool. Then we have a conversation. Then I better be prepared with the 30 seconds, which comes next, right? But really and truly, you don't want to walk in with your 30-second or your 60-second elevator pitch when they don't even know you yet. So I encourage you all to have that. That's really important, and we'll talk about that. But let's start with 5 words. So I want you to break into pairs. So sit next to whoever is close to you and come up with 5 words that will help you describe what you do. So it can't be no jargon, right? And Carrie Cameron does a great elevator pitch conversation about this. But I do want you guys to break out and actually think about this and talk to your neighbor, especially if you don't know them yet, and learn a little more about them and come up with your 5 words. So you can probably stop video. Oh my God, you have stuff? Oh, here, let me turn me off.
study pretty much. I study how. Well, more focused specifically on how, but understanding the how, why, how to stop. Yeah, I see. I don't know if you I mean, you could really just state it. I could say I'm a microbiologist. I study how one bacteria becomes two. That sounds like cheesy. That's true, yeah. That's not bad. She takes a little bit longer than 5 minutes. Yeah.
That was more than 5 minutes. Did I get you back? Okay. So who thought their neighbor's pitch was awesome? Excellent. Who's your neighbor? This one? I love doing this. This is so fun. I'm so extroverted, it's not even funny. Okay, so I want you to give me your introduction, your name, who you are, and your 5 words.
Use our microphone.
And you're now in trouble. Okay, excellent. So his was good too? Fabulous. Wait, his is even better than yours?
Yes.
Excellent. I love this.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Uh-huh.
My name is Jian Tan Yuan. I'm working on developing new materials for human energy research.
Excellent. So are you over in behavioral science or are you?
No, we are in material science department,
Okay,
and we are creating nanomaterials
Okay.
for high efficient energy devices.
perfect. So by the time you've teased my interest, I'm going to follow up and I'm going to start like hitting you with a lot of questions, right? So you need to be ready with that 30 seconds and tell me more about what does that mean. Okay? So tell me yours.
Yeah.
Yep.
My name is Hunayan Alam. I'm doing research on lung cancer in MCU department.
Okay.
And I enjoy a lot. I just passing by this and I heard this is going on, so I just stopped.
Excellent. I love drive-by seminars. That's awesome.
This is awesome, yeah.
You never know what you're going to find out, and you never know what you're going to get yourself
I
into.
found this guy is like doing very cool stuff.
Exactly. So now you have a network.
Yes.
Someone else that you didn't know, trade emails, make sure you connect through LinkedIn or Researchgate or whatever, and continue that conversation later. You know, have coffee every couple of months. It doesn't hurt, right? Okay. Somebody over here. Now nobody's going to say anything, right? They're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to give up my neighbor. Nobody's going to give up their neighbor? You need to stop. You're good. Okay. Nobody's going to give up their neighbor? Excellent. Fabulous. I actually know him, so I can pick on him. Okay, yep.
No, you got it.
Kevin's right. You got to have the mic.
Hi, Tracy.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Because I'm wearing my name badge, and he knew. Right.
I'm John from MDN, and I'm mind genomic data.
Excellent. So that's actually interesting to me because I was sorry, I don't need that. Former statistician. So now I'm going to connect with him on a different level, right? Because he's given me a bite of what he can do. Now, if I said, what does that mean, or how do you do that, or is there a specific cancer, et cetera, then he needs to be ready with his 30 seconds of, this is the better, this is more details, right? Okay.
So Tracy, you're saying like catch him with the 5 seconds and then
Yes.
get him in.
Okay. So, like I did mine in the beginning, right? I'm going to pick somebody else. Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm the Director of Postdoc Affairs at wow. 6 months hasn't been long enough. Moffitt Cancer Center. Okay. And I facilitate career growth for postdocs. So,
Hi, my name is Emily Mendez, and I'm an MD PhD student interested in translational neuroscience research.
excellent. Okay. So now I have a flavor of what she's interested in. And now if I have a connection to that, hey, I was a GSBS alum. That's fantastic. I've now connected with someone, right? And it's really all about finding that little piece that connects you with other people. Now, if I have no interest, that's on me, that's not on you, right? But I might say, oh my gosh, I know Brittany Parker Kerrigan, and she's a former GSBS alum, and you guys have to connect. She's upstairs, she works for Fred, okay? So I may not connect with you on the same topic, but I may be able to connect you with someone else. Or you might say, Tracy, I'm really not interested in what you have to say about postdocs. But what do you have to say for me as a graduate student? And I can say the same thing, right? Because what helps you network now will help you network later, right? A lot of the things that I do for my postdocs, I invite all of my grad students, I invite all of my research scientists, because no matter where you are on that spectrum, you still need this stuff. So this is the next piece. So actually my question, how many's heard of Simon Sinek? Sinek. Simon Sinek. Okay, another TED Talk. If you haven't seen How Great Leaders Inspire Action, worth your 15 minutes. Okay? Very inspiring. This is an infographic that a gal did, and when I was researching for the American Heart a year ago, this popped up and I loved it. What I like better, though, is the secondary infographic that I found, which really defines the 3 things that you need to talk about when you are giving that next 30 seconds, okay? You've given them the flavor of, this is the thing I'm interested in. But you really need to engage them on why you're doing what you're doing, or what is your real purpose. What gets you up in the morning that's exciting and not your alarm clock, right? Okay? And if you're not excited when you jump out of bed in the morning, then we need to think about what it means to be, what is it that you really want to be doing and get you to that space. Okay? Yes. Insert course required here may not be the most interesting thing that you have to do in your graduate career, but it is a stepping stone to get you to where you want to be. So being really clear on what that means and using individual development plans. I know you just had Bill Lindstedt here. Absolutely essential to making sure you're getting to the space that you want to be in a timely fashion. So back to this. Why you're doing what you're doing. If you start with your why, if you can get someone engaged on the thing that is exciting to you, the how and the what will follow, okay? When we give presentations, we're really bad. We start with the background because it's easy. We talk about the methods because it's the next easiest thing. And at the very end, we talk about the results and the why it's exciting. What would happen if we turn that on its head and engage our audience in the first minute of our presentation as opposed to the end? So that's a follow-on for presentation skills, but if you go visit the TED website or the not LinkedIn, YouTube, go to YouTube and pull this up, watch the video, and think about how you can apply it to a bunch of different ways in which you communicate. I like this for networking, but I equally like it for presentations. So really and truly, this is part of getting through all of that process. And I'm going to cut it short and not go through this, but at the end of the day, a lot of this comes from the same kinds of things that Carrie Cameron talks about when she does her elevator pitch, right? In a sentence or two, explain what your research question is. In a sentence or two, explain how you plan to answer the question. And in a sentence or two, explain why it's going to be a great and interesting, awesome thing, right? Okay. So, online presence. Who has a LinkedIn profile? Who created their profile and did the minimum amount of work so that they could look at someone else's profile first? Yeah. Okay, how many have gone back and then done something with it? Homework, right? Okay, great if you have. It's homework if you haven't. And after this, I think you'll probably all go and fiddle with it just a little bit. If at least minimally, add me to your network, right? I welcome all of you to add me. It's an open invitation for you and your colleagues. But my questions for you are really, how are we going to leverage this stuff, right? Beyond LinkedIn, which is becoming a lot more popular with academics, we have Researchgate, Science CV, Mayan CBI, Scopus, and ORCID. How many of you have heard about these? They're a lot more prevalent in the academic arena, okay? A lot of academicians have the additional profiles. So I will say I have a Researchgate profile, but I don't play with it very often. I have a Scopus ID. I have an ORCID ID. I use my ORCID ID in my LinkedIn profile because I don't want to list my 27 articles because there's not a great way to import them. But by just putting that, if you want to go look for them, you can see them, and then you'll get links to all the ones that have accessible free links for people to just get to, right? So I don't have to do a lot of the work. Let the technology that's out there do the work for you. The other thing about Scopus and ORCID that I am particularly fond of is that for 4 years while I was a GSBS student, everyone knew me as Tracy Teal. And in my 4th year, I got married and changed my name. Now, I did not publish before, oh yeah, I did. I published before I changed my name. At the point at which I changed my name, I changed my publication name, right? I did not keep my maiden name. So now I have 2 names that I've published under. My CV looks like a hot mess. But in ORCID, it will seamlessly tie all of those things together for you. So if you went out and looked for me now, you would only find the Tracy Costello articles unless you went back and looked for my maiden name too. If you can connect to my ORCID ID because I give it to you, and that's fabulous, then you have all of that on me. If you have a common name, now Tracy Costello isn't completely common, but there are other Tracy Costellos out there. If you have a common name like Joe Smith, right? In academics, there's probably a few, right? You want to be given credit for the things you do, not for the things that some other individual is doing. And you certainly don't want to be tied to anybody else's retractions, etc. So I highly encourage you. Cinna's got another comment.
Yeah. Researchgate is a great tool, particularly if you want to focus on academia and do networking, showing off your co-author list, and also tracking publications matter to you for your future publications. Another platform is Google Scholar Citation page. That's a great platform. You can have an online presence as a scientist when you publish a paper, also to show off the list of co-authors you have as your scientific network. Just wanted to make these points.
Google Scholar is another good one. Don't have it on here, need to add it. Thank you. So my point here, and I included Twitter on this list, and my point here is that there are ways for you to be present in academics. Twitter is one of the newest pieces that individuals are using to tweet when their articles are published. So you tweet your 140-character tagline, and you provide a link to your article, and you drive traffic. Okay? It's an interesting concept. It's not one that all of our academics are really comfortable with, right? Because that goes to tooting my own horn, and yeah, that's ugh. Right? And that's different, but you may have the next Nobel Prize and not even know it, because grad students and postdocs are the ones that are really, the work that you do now is really what starts. If you go back and look at all the Nobel laureates, a lot of the work that they are getting recognized for was started when they were in grad school and postdocs. That's now. So you think about what you're doing now and think about that it might be putting you on a podium with a huge cash prize. You never know. Okay, so LinkedIn, ResearchGate, any of these, the most important pieces. What's the number one important piece that you're going to put on there? I'm going to totally steal his headshot. Okay? You all want a very good headshot. Don't take the one that you took with your best friend, selfie, and you cut out your best friend because you're putting it on. Or worse, you leave your best friend in there and then someone pulls it up and they're like, which one? I've seen it. Now, if you have a great photo of you in the lab, it might be worth considering. But a good headshot where you're smiling and engaged gets lots more views than some of the other photos that are out there. Okay, number 2, when you're using LinkedIn, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, etc., who are the network that you put into that space? Personal or professional? Professional. Okay, now if your mother or father is a famous scientist, you probably want to include them, right? Yes. Okay. All of these are opportunities for you to tell your story. This is very much CV, this is very much backward thinking, okay? As opposed to a resume, which you will get to in a little bit, which is very forward thinking. It is your history, but it is not the laundry list of everything you've done. It's 2 pages, it's short, and it's really about where you want to go and how you can impact a company or a position as opposed to really about you. It's really about them. So tell your story in these spaces because this is your opportunity to dump everything under the sun, including the things that you think, this doesn't even fit on my CV, right? But it's a volunteer activity. It's one of the things that I'm really known for, or I really get a lot out of, okay? In your LinkedIn, and ResearchGate's a little similar, either join professional groups or, I know, he's coming, or follow companies, be engaged with your co-authors, right? Different ways of having your network built. Be present, share articles, develop your brand. So you want that to be, when someone connects there, they see something impactful and I want to be connected to that person. Go ahead.
What do you do about the somewhat random people that just start adding you on LinkedIn and or ResearchGate?
Nobody can just add you in LinkedIn. I get a lot of requests, okay? If they are from GSBS or if they're from MD Anderson and they're postdocs, I accept them, okay? But I go in and look. You have to, I mean, a better way for you to connect with someone, and I would love that everyone would connect to me this way, is to say, I met you at, or I follow your posts. We were both grad students at GSBS, or we were both, right? Some way, tell me something, not just, please add me to your LinkedIn profile or connection, right? If you tell me why, I don't even look at the rest of it because I've read the thing that you've given me, I automatically accept. So that's a comment for all of you. If you say, thanks for the seminar, thank you, right? Or glad you came back, super, right? That's a much better way to connect with people, but we don't always see that, right? A lot of it's, and I will say, your phone is a fabulous networking tool, right? You can instantly add people to LinkedIn. You don't have the opportunity on the phone app to put words. That sucks, right? Like, I wish they would change that. On your computer, you can add that nice, pretty language, and that's why I want you to take your cards from a conference, go back, do it afterwards. Do it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Tracy, there's actually a way to add words on the app now, but it's like from a drop-down menu, it's not immediate.
Oh, well, that's...
Yeah. Not well designed, baby, but.
Maybe, but I know Microsoft took over LinkedIn, so like I know that things changed.
Yeah.
So that was earlier this year, so I will have to go in and look at that, and I'm glad, thank you for that, because now I will stop giving misinformation to people.
It's like.
I think my question is more like,
Okay.
what about those people that add you that you definitely have never met?
So 2 things. Number 1, you can hit decline. And the other thing that LinkedIn will do for you is it will put a pop-up up. If we let LinkedIn do pop-ups, you can choose, I do not know this person, or I have no, like, and then there's actually a couple of other choices below that, like, really no clue at all, right? Gradiated. So if you push that, then they can't add you again.
Well, I guess.
And I have some who are serial adders. When I decline them, then they do it again.
Yeah, but I guess, like, what if it looks like someone, at least from their, so like, for example, I feel like I get a lot of people on LinkedIn that are adding that do some sort of science investment, right?
Okay.
So this could be potentially useful, but I've definitely never met this person. So I don't want to, like, I don't know. I don't know if they're real profiles, fake profiles. I don't know what to do.
That's a good question. So
I don't want to completely decline if they could be potential people that I might need in the future, but at the same time, I definitely don't know this person. And I don't necessarily want to invite meeting them when I've never met them before.
correct. So it's a judgment. One thing you can do with them is leave them in your list and leave them in limbo, right? They're not accepted and they're not rejected or declined. I should say declined. Reject is such a harsh word. So you have that option, right, to leave them in there. But then your LinkedIn on your phone will say, you have 52, you're 53, you're 54, right? Eventually you need to go through and make some decisions about those people. And if you think that's a career path that you want to explore, then I would do a little research into a couple of the different ones, figure out who you might connect with, do an informational interview with them, accept them, ask for some time to talk, and then understand their path and how they got to where they are. But again, you're strategically picking who you're going to talk to, right? So do a little, you can go in and look at all their profiles. If they've invited you, you can see everything that they have. If they have a really weak or incomplete profile, probably not the person you want to talk to. If they had something compelling, even if it was a weak profile, you might go and Google. Again, Google is the great rememberer, right? It will tell you every web page that person has ever been referenced on, ever. And every comment they've ever said, all the way back to grad school or undergrad, all the way back, right? The internet does not forget, and I will say that later. The internet does not forget. Really important to think about. So in this case, then, what I want you to think about is what do you want to get out of that? And if you don't know right now, leave them in limbo. Okay? And that's just an advice, and if you don't like it, you can do whatever you want with it, right? That's my 2 cents. So the homework and the follow-up. Okay, so actually let me do one more thing before I tell you your homework. If you have social media like Facebook, great place to keep all of your friends and your non-professional relationships, although you may have some professional that bleeds over, okay? Keep it clean. If Facebook keeps changing their rules, sometimes your stuff goes public and you don't know it, right? Don't put anything out there that you wouldn't want your grandma to see. Is good. That's a good benchmark, right? Twitter is the same way in some cases, okay? So I don't want you to feel like Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest. If you have all of these, that's great, right? Set your profiles where they need to be so that when you are applying for jobs, academic and non-academic, people will go out and look for you. The last statistic I saw is that 2/3 of job hiring managers will go and look at your other social profiles. We got a question. So be careful with what's out there. And if you don't remember what's out there, drill down a couple of years ago and just see. And you may want to delete some of it, but it's hard to get rid of it entirely.
Is it better or worse to have a Facebook profile that's completely unsearchable? Does that come off as a weird red flag, or is that safer? Even if you don't have anything on there that you think would be weird.
I turned mine private. I turned my Facebook private. At this point, nothing I post there is really for anybody beyond my immediate circle of friends and family. I don't think that comes across as a red flag. You have one, so you're social, but not out there social, right? Or you're not using it as a vocal platform, and that's okay. You might get asked about it. I know there was one person I interviewed with at Moffitt who had no social profile at all. I know. And I thought, what the heck? Because I like to go and dig and learn about everybody so I can figure out what my connection to them is ahead of time. Ask we got a question up here. Ask very directed questions and get that relationship built. And if you're doing interviewing, I have some tips on that, call me, right? But I'd done all this research 6 months before I got that call, and I experimented with them and tried out all of these different things that I had read and researched, and a lot of them worked really well. So in that case, though, the reason that she has nothing is because for me to ask her, oh my God, or for me to say, I tried to find you and I couldn't find anything on you, that was her trigger that she knew people were out there looking. When people don't dig very hard or don't look very hard and don't realize that there's nothing out there, then somebody's waving at me. For her, that was her flag to know that I had done my homework. It wasn't easy to find stuff on her. It was incredibly hard. And I had one article that was posted in one random publication from Moffitt that made it to the web. That was it, one thing. And I'm like, look, this is all I could find. What's that about? And she's like, oh, you did your homework. And I said, yeah, of course I did my homework, but how? And she's like, well, that's my intent. I don't put anything out there. And so for you to tell me that lets me know that you did your work. I know, but it really was a very interesting conversation because I really wasn't sure what to ask her. I wasn't sure how to let that go. But then I just said, tell me about yourself, and then I had all kinds of information, right? Okay, question was
Yeah.
in here. Yes.
It's actually just a comment. So
Uh-huh.
even if your Facebook profile is private, each post you post, you can choose it for that post to be
Yes.
like by itself public or not. So you can kind of filter out so that people see what you want them to see.
Correct.
And yeah,
That takes a lot more work, though.
it does. Yeah.
So being completely private, being semi-private, being completely public, depends on what you want to get out of that. Okay? All right. I want you to continue to work on your 5-word introductions until they get really, really smooth. Okay? Facilitate career growth for postdocs doesn't talk about everything that I do, right? So in an audience like this, it kind of gives you an idea that, hey, I'm doing career development with trainees. But if I said that in the grocery store, that doesn't play because postdoc is not in the common language or vernacular, right? If I said students or people in training positions or people with PhDs, like that might play better, right? Makes me use more words. But how would you say those kinds of things? So understanding who your audience is, you may have several of these, right? Depending on where you are, you're going to have a different tag. You know, in the grocery store, I would probably just say I'm working at Moffitt and I'm doing career development for part of the people who work there, part of the scientists. Okay, right? That's language they get, and everybody in Tampa knows about Moffitt. So, I said to meet 3 new people today, or at your next conference. But make sure you follow up with them. Okay? You already met one person here. That was easy, right? Talk with somebody else on the way out. It's not that big a deal. Okay. Evaluate your current network, build it, do that mind map, think about what's missing. So if you don't have any connections with your professional societies, figure out who is important and who you would want to connect with. And then make sure you get into your LinkedIn and do that. These are all different for all different people. Every single one of you is going to take a different thing out of this conversation. So this has been driving me for the past year. If it is both exciting and terrifying, you absolutely have to go do it. This is what I want and hope for every single one of you to get to. I absolutely love my job. There are days when it is terrifying. The first 5 minutes of every presentation is terrifying. Okay? But I keep going out and I keep doing it. So thank you. These are my ways in which you can follow me. Please feel free to connect with me at any point. If you all really, really, really want the slides, I can let Sina PDF them into like 6x and send them out to you. That's fine. He has a copy. This is videoed, so this will be in perpetuity. I really do wish the very, very best for all of you. You have a great staff here at GSBS who can help you with all of these things. Talk with your colleagues, talk with your neighbors. Contact me if you need anything. So there are additional questions? Because I dumped a lot of information on you, and that 6-page thing that you're walking out of here with has more. No questions. Okay, for the people who don't want to ask public questions, I'm going to be hanging out here for a little bit longer. Feel free to come and do one-on-one or small group. Yeah, I get that. Okay, that's it. We're done.
Tracy.